All right, welcome back to National High School Football. Let's welcome to the show the head coach of the First Academy football program in Orlando, Florida, Coach Jeff Conaway. Coach, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So, Coach, obviously you and I know each other, but for everybody watching, let's educate them on you. We'll get to the school a little later. Educate everyone on you, who you are, your background, and how you got to where you are today.
I like to say it really isn't what you know, but it is definitely who you know. And I was in college. I went to Ouachita Baptist, and I roomed with Gus Malzahn's first state championship quarterback from Shiloh Christian, Josh Floyd. And Josh Floyd and I we grew up at the college level together, if you will, and we kind of started our careers together. And when he got the Shiloh Christian job in 2004, I went with him. We were 23 years old. We thought we knew football. And I can remember the first game we played Greenwood, Arkansas. I was the OC. He was the head coach. We were both 23 years old. We had an O-line coach from the University of Arkansas that was 23 years old. We were young guys, newly into the coaching career. And we got an opportunity to play Rick Jones, who is serving right now as Missouri's assistant head coach under Eli Drinkwitz. And Rick Jones is a Hall of Famer in both Oklahoma and in Arkansas. And we crossed the 50-yard line one time that game. We lost big, but all of my stories, it seems like, are humble stories, stories that really kind of forged me in this profession of when you get into coaching, you think it's going to be about really developing and having some incredible stories with players and winning championships. But the stories that we coaches find ourselves talking about the most aren't necessarily the victories. They're the struggles. And I can remember that game vividly of we just struggled. And it was a humility story for me and Coach Floyd, but it forced us to grow. And I think that's what football is all about. And so we had some really good times there when I was an assistant at Shiloh Christian. And then I went back home to my high school and became a head coach at age 27. Once again, thought I knew what I was doing, but really didn't. And I had 6 good years of really, really good training there at the high school that I graduated from in Paragould, Arkansas. It's a 5A program. It wasn't a great program at all. That's how I got the job. But I learned so many valuable lessons. I worked with some men that had mentored me. My high school football coach was the principal and then became the superintendent. Our defensive coordinator when I played was a principal there. And some of the coaches that coached me were on my staff. And so just a really cool experience being a young coach, trying to learn how to become a head coach. Spent 6 years there and then went back to Shiloh Christian when Josh Floyd got the Hewitt Trustfield job in Birmingham. So I was at Shiloh as the head coach and the athletic director for 9 years. And we were having a whole lot of fun. We were winning football games and really we were building more than just a varsity team at Shiloh. We were a private Christian school that we wanted to build our football program from the varsity all the way down to the young guys, the youth league. And we did some things really different, really cutting edge. And we had an influx of young kids that wanted to be a part of our program because our varsity coaches were doing such a developmental job with them. And just last week, Shiloh Christian opened up a $20-30 million elementary school. And I really believe that part of that was because of the work that we did developing football players at that school. And so fast forward to when I got this call 2 years ago in the summer in June, I got a call from the First Academy. I wasn't looking for a job. I was very content with the one that I had. We had just built a $7 million indoor facility that was the best in the area, the best in the region. And I get a call from the First Academy as more of a consultant type deal. And that particular weekend that the head of school wanted me to come and visit, my wife had a sister weekend planned with her sister in Kansas City, Missouri. And her parents were coming up to watch our 3 kids. And so I'm kind of weighing it, right? Like, do I fly down to Orlando and get put up in a resort and help this guy hire his next football coach, or do I stay and Springdale, Arkansas with my in-laws. So I decided to go to Orlando. And when I stepped on campus, on the First Academy's campus, I realized how special it could be. And I quickly realized how serious they were to build a football program. Gus Malzahn at that time was the head coach at UCF just down the road. And I ended up calling Gus and I said, Coach, should I be interested in this small private Christian school in Orlando? And he said, Jeff, there are more Division I football players within a 15-mile radius of that school than there are in the entire state of Arkansas. And he said, if you can find a way to attract those guys and get them to your school, he says, I believe strongly that you guys can turn that thing around and you can build a monster.
Wow.
And Coach, how did they find you?
Well, I think the way that they found me, our head of school, Steve Whitaker, is very involved in the accreditations for the private schools. He sits on those boards and he's been on those teams. And I think he reached out to one of the ACSI, the accreditation companies, and asked them something along the lines of, hey, we're going to hire a new football coach. Who is one of the coaches that is doing a good job in the private Christian realm?
Mm-hmm.
And I think at that time, our program was doing well, and they had just accredited us a couple of months before that. And so I think that guy said, you might want to check out this old guy from Arkansas. They're doing a pretty decent job there. And I'm glad he did, because I took the job with a whole lot of excitement. I could have stayed at Shiloh Christian and been extremely content and very, very happy. I don't know that there's a better job in the country than Shiloh Christian. That is a great job. It's a lot of fun. They have such good tradition, and every kid just works so hard. Every family is so bought in. There's nothing like it. But Larry, you asked me a question, and I hope I don't steal your thunder, but I could have stayed at Shiloh Christian and been a state championship contender most years.
Yeah.
I felt like I wanted to do something a little different. I felt like I wanted to, and I really believe that God laid this on my heart. I wanted to become a national championship contender.
Yep.
And not that I didn't believe we could do that at Shiloh, because I believe we could. There were certain years where we finished our season ranked in the country. But what I saw from the First Academy was an opportunity to take that to a whole nother level. Just the caliber of athlete that was in our area already, and the opportunity that I saw was something that was really intriguing to me, and I was very excited to say yes.
It's funny. Most coaches are leaving Florida because of the pay, but you entered it a couple of years ago. So,
Joe, what Coach Conaway is referring to is, guys, when we have a coach on the show, we get a few minutes to spend some time with these guys, kind of like a pregame huddle, if you will, just to get to know them a little bit. So, Joe, one of the questions I asked Coach during this pregame part was, Coach, what was your motivation to move down to the First? You had it good at Shiloh. So is one of your goals to become a national brand to rival the Boscos and Modern Days of the world? And he just answered that. I mean, that sounds like what you're up to. Good.
And there's nobody doing it in his part of Florida. You have IMG obviously down there, but you don't have, you have in South Florida, you got the Aquinas, the Madonnas, you don't have any nationally relevant private Christian schools in the Orlando area, right, yeah. Coach? That I know the only one that comes to mind is Bishop Moore in Orlando.
It is, yes.
Yeah, right. So that's in Orlando, but that's a traditional just a Catholic parochial school. To the best of my knowledge, I don't think they've ever been ranked in the top 50 in America. Who knows? But yeah, you have that opportunity because of where the school sits, and like your mentor said to you. Look at all the NFL players who've been spawned from a 15, 20-mile radius of it. Yeah. And I've always said this about many states. I always said if a private school in Texas, even opened up or was created, and all the best Texas kids went to the private school, they could be good as any school in the top 10 in America every year. That same holds true for the Orlando area.
Joe, let me ask the coach a follow-up to his goals and the players that he's got access down there. Coach, I heard you talk about Coach Malzahn was saying, in that South Florida area, that Central Florida area, you've got a lot of fantastic athletes down there, right? So when you take over a program like that, I heard you talk about earlier, you used the word developing and development. It sounds like that's a top priority for you as a coach. So how do you marry your goals of developing players when you have players that are already so good to begin with and they know they're good? How do you get them to elevate their game to the next level and listen to you so they'll get developed even more?
Love the question. And that's what I get really excited about is the development, because regardless of the talent level, regardless of the skill already acquired, football is only a quarter of what we're trying to develop. Our mission is to develop champions spiritually, academically, socially, and athletically. And there's so much there with a 16, 17, 18-year-old boy that you can help him develop in.
Yeah.
And when we talk about developing spiritually, we want our players to know who Jesus is, and we want to show them what we've learned as old men and some of the things that we've learned and walked through, because we want them to have an abiding relationship with Jesus. We want them to know who he is and know how to walk with him. And so we want to teach them how to be self-feeders. And all that really means is we want them to open up scripture and be able to feed themselves, read the word, and let the word get in them. We believe that if you abide in the word and the word abides in you, you will bear much fruit. And we want our players to figure out and learn how to do that. Academically, it's pretty simple. We want our guys to sit in front of the class, listen with their eyes, build positive relationships with their teachers, and turn in every assignment. And we want them to have an opportunity academically that they can't get anywhere else. And when you strive for those things, and one of the phrases that we use a lot is tempo. Everybody talks about tempo on offense or whatever. Tempo for us is whatever we teach, emphasize, measure, and praise is generally the outcome we get. And when we started teaching and emphasizing and measuring, sitting in front of the class and turning in your assignments and listening with your eyes and build positive relationships with your teachers, you naturally see the confidence in the classroom rise. You see GPAs rise. And so that's a big one for us. And we can spend a lot of time on just developing them academically. Socially, same thing. We want to teach them how to shake hands firmly, look people in the eye, and speak comfortably and confidently. And then athletically, we want them to train, eat, hydrate, and rest like a champion. And so we say we're going to run real fast in those 4 lanes because it's not about chasing a state or a national championship. It's about developing champions. And so much. My 8-year-old had a birthday party, and we're at one of those trampoline parks, and a few of his friends who had been to our camp and had heard me talk about those things for 2 years in a row came up to me, and on the way out, and he stuck his hand up and he shook my hand and he squeezed it and he looked me in the eye and he said, "Thank you for having me." That's development. That's the development that gets us excited, because we know that if we can teach those 4 areas and repeat them over and over and over, we can see our guys, even the good ones, we can see them flourish in other areas of their lives.
So, Coach, you're doing all the right things to attract the right players down there. One of the other things you're doing, not spiritually, but literally physically on the gridiron, is fielding one of the toughest schedules in high school football. Larry, I don't know if you want to put that up on the screen, but let's talk through it right now. So there's 7 games there's 7 games that stick out to me as real high profile. And 3 of them, yours truly is broadcasting on the Flow Football Channel. So the first one is your Kickoff Classic. Not many people want to play IMG Academy's national team. Not even for a Kickoff Classic in general. Not many people do, but kudos to you for wanting to test yourselves as soon as possible and getting ready for game number 2. So that, obviously we appreciate that. And coaches, I tell coaches all the time, if you want to attract ballers from your area, you gotta do what the others aren't doing. There's a great saying that I always live my life by: wise ones walk when others run, and run when others walk. nobody in your area is playing high profile out of state teams. Now, in the past, they have. I've worked with Jones in the past. I had them go to Duncanville one year. I had Edgewater host Don Bosco a few years ago, but nobody's ever assembled a schedule like you have. So let's run through it. So August 14th, which is coming upon us a week from Friday, your kickoff classic is going to be versus the IMG national team. You follow that with last year's best team in Georgia and number 2 team in America, Milton. And then after that, no easy game. And the good thing is these games are home, the first couple. Then you got Phoenix City Central, who's one of the better teams in Alabama. And I follow high school football in Bama a lot. My son goes to Auburn, so I'm down there a lot. Literally, I have season tickets. I'm there like every other weekend, and I always go to games. So, I mean, that Central team is as good as it gets. You mentioned you at Trustville, Auburn, Thompson, Hoover. They're all great teams, and all of them play national schedules, which is great. So let's talk about those first 3 games.
Yeah, I'm just glad you guys are having me on before the season begins. You may not invite me back after the first few games. Being able to play IMG is like for a high school football coach, it's a dream. Like being able to play, and we literally kind of think of them as the number 1 program in the world. And I'm able to tell our coaches and our players, regardless if we are on their level yet or not, we don't know. We'll find out next week, but we're getting to host the number 1 football playing program in all of the world. Mm-hmm. And to me and to us, it's special. It is just a kickoff classic. And so, I've heard our people on our campus talk about it really doesn't matter. And if you lose, who cares? If you win, great. But we want it to be a measuring stick. We want to be sharpened. We want to know where we're at. And, you can find out pretty quickly where you're at if you play a team like IMG.
Well, and Coach, Milton's doing the same thing. They're opening up Buford's $60 million stadium that same evening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think our game's on Thursday. I think.
Yeah. So there's this the next night, but and then it's on ESPN, so you're going to be able to watch that and scout.
That's right. Yep, that'll be a great one. What Coach does at Milton and just the way that they have built that football program it's a great story as well. They do a remarkable job every season.
Coach Clack started down there too. I mean, we were very close. He was my first Georgia client ever, and every year he'd say, "Joe, go get me the best game possible." And he would go to California. He actually came to Philadelphia and knocked off St. Joe's Prep when they were ranked in the top 10. Wow. So yeah, I mean, that's how you build a national program, by not avoiding great competition, by welcoming great competition on a weekly basis. And then you go to Phoenix City, Alabama, which is awesome. Central's a great team. Those 2 games are going to be on Flow, the Milton one and the Central game. And then later on, we have at St. Francis and versus the Hun School, another private school from New Jersey that's does very well for themselves. And then you got Treasure Coast, which is a solid team out of Florida. Mm-hmm. I'm not familiar with the team on September 12th, but they are ranked in the top 300 in America, and which shows they are a quality team. And then at Venice is always a tough game. That's going to test you like no other. At Gadsden County, love Coach Ellington. He's a close friend, and we're working with him on building a national schedule year in and year out, just like we are with you. Any comments on those couple of games?
The Central game has a little backstory to it. So when I was at Ouachita Baptist, Patrick Nix was the head coach at Henderson State, which is right across the street. In college football, it's the shortest distance rivalry in any other rivalry because we literally are across the street from each other. But that'll be a fun one because the year that he was at Henderson, I was a football player at Ouachita. And so we got to we got to share some old stories together on the phone, putting our game together. So that'll be a fun one. But
That's great.
You nailed it. I mean, to play a tough Treasure Coast team, and people look at our schedule and they think, there's your cupcake, but they are not a cupcake at all. I mean, they are a solid football team year in and year out. And then to be able to go to Venice, that's going to be a huge deal. They've opened up a new football stadium as well. They won the state championship last year. And so we're going to see a lot of really good football players and really good football teams in the first half of that schedule.
You sure are, man. Oh man, I kind of feel bad for you, Coach. That's a tough schedule.
Hey, Larry, you won't feel bad for him when we go over his roster.
Well, let's talk about that. Modern day football, we got to talk about the quarterback. Coach, you're losing a good one, and I guess it's not Solomon Georges. Is that how you say his name? Solomon Georges Jr. He's going to be replaced by Landon Holly. What can you tell us about Landon?
Landon has an incredible gift, and right now my joke is he's a little bit more like Brett Favre than he is Tom Brady. I'm trying to get him closer to Tom Brady, but he's got an incredible gift as an arm. There are so many throws throughout a practice that all of us kind of are like, that was a really good throw. But he's learning how to play in our system, and our system is unique. We are going to give him the keys. 3 things that he has to do extremely well. He's got to be the best leader on the field. He's got to make great decisions over and over and over, and he's got to be accurate with the football. And he's progressed a lot in those areas, and when he gets it, he's going to be really good.
And Larry, I'm talking about their roster, and then we'll get back to the schedule. They currently, according to 247 Sports, the First Academy currently has 16 players ranked at a 3-star or higher.
Yeah, I saw that list that you sent me. I was amazed.
Yeah, 4 4-stars, and 12 3-stars, and the senior class has 2 4-stars. Correct me if I'm wrong, Coach. Devin Jackson and Danny Odom.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, he's being real modest. But his team is going to be playing against like-minded opponents. If you look at IMG, Milton, Central, they're all, they are where they are today by playing tough schedules back in the day. So let's finish the schedule up at St. Francis. That's another flow game. St. Francis is in the top 5 and almost, I think, maybe not all 9 preseason polls that are out now, but the majority of them, they're in the top 5. They have a lot returning, including the #1 defensive player in America. St. James Academy is a new school. It's a first-year program out of the Washington, D.C. area in the suburbs of Springfield, Virginia. That'll be nice to have them come down and visit. The Hun School, which is a private school in New Jersey, that I'm well aware of them living in the state. So they're always tough. They'll play anybody. They played St. Francis last year. So they'll be a real good tough opponent. And then you're finishing the schedule with Lakeland, who's a perennial power down there under the former Coach Castle.
Yeah, the first half of the schedule's tough. It doesn't get a whole lot easier in that second half. But again, you're right, Joe. One of the things that we did last year was, we put Edgewater, we put Lipscomb Academy, and we put some really good teams. We put Seminole on the schedule last year, some big games for us. And I was shocked at the number of our players that basically said, Coach, one of the reasons that I want to be here is because I want to play like-minded teams. I want to play teams that we're going to have to prepare really well for, and we're going to have to go perform even better just to have a chance to win. And a lot of the kids that want to play college football, that's what they want to do on Friday nights. They don't want to go play a team that they're going to mercy roll and have to stand in the second half. They want to go play real football on a real platform.
Yeah, Coach, I do a lot of scheduling for IMG. I schedule a lot of their games because they're so hard to schedule. Nobody wants to play them. And I get feedback from the teams that I bring down there, and the kids are so excited because regardless of the score, if somebody has a great game film against one of their players, you can get an offer the following weekend.
No
It's
doubt.
that easy. It's that easy when you play against these teams.
Yeah, for sure.
You got Milton with their great quarterbacks and tight ends over the last few years. I mean, if you shut any of them down, or your film just looks outstanding that night, you literally that following week could get offers because of it. A lot of the majority of the subscribers on Flow who watch these games are college coaches, recruiters. Before spending the money to fly somewhere to watch somebody live, they'll put on Flow and watch all these games, and that'll determine if they take it to the next level. So your players are going to have tremendous opportunity to perform against the best, and that's what it's all about. I have 400 teams in my network right now, and none of those teams are in it to play the easiest schedule possible. All 400 of them play at least one really good out-of-state game every year annually. That's why they're part of our network. That's why we use the hashtag play the best, anyone, anywhere, and no cowards allowed. It's been our mantra for, since we started the company 10 years ago. And you're just doing that. You're the epitome. And that, when I called you, I reached out, Larry, out of the blue. I reached out and called him and said, Coach, I'm seeing what you're doing. I want to work with you. I could take you to that next level, like we've done with the St. Francis of the world and IMGs and so many other teams. St. Francis back in the day, they were everybody's homecoming game for decades. They weren't a good team. They got beat up. Coach Masai comes back, and all of a sudden he's bringing in all these great players. And now his own conference, they won't play him. If they're forced to play him, they said they would all forfeit. So they forced him to do an independent schedule, which is not right. Cancel culture is always wrong in any area of life, especially in high school football. So you remind me of them back in the day. But I mean, you obviously you weren't a lot of people's homecoming game, but you're coming off, even the year before you got there, they had a winning record, right? The 8-3, I think. So, and then for your first year, they were 6-4. Last year, 9-1 against really good competition. So yeah, I mean, you are sticking with the formula that can make you, quite honestly, like the IMG of the Orlando area.
Coach, a while ago you said when we were talking about your new quarterback, Landon Holly, you used this word, we have a unique system. And so we basically put the keys in his hands. Were you talking about your offensive scheme? Is that unique? Is that what you meant by that?
I think our scheme, I don't know that our scheme is unique if you dissect play by play. I think our scheme is unique because of the multiplicity and the variety of scheme that we have. And to go into a little bit of detail there, it doesn't happen. We don't start that in June. We start that in January as young as we can. Like I said, my son's on an 8U team. We're starting to develop our scheme with our 8-year-olds. And we were fortunate to do this at Shiloh. We're trying to do it at TFA because if you want to be multiple on Friday night, you better have trained up and developed some young kids. Know how to run tempo. They know how to run pace. They need to know how to run the football, throw the football, screen it, throw play action, and all of that stuff. I think we present a lot, but I think it's because we start them really early.
Well, you've got. I was reading an article written by Sam Albuquerque in the Orange Observer, and he was talking about your upcoming season, and he was talking about Landon. You mentioned a wide receiver that he's probably going to be throwing to a lot in Demetrius McCray, and he was wondering what other weapons is going to accompany him. Can you share a little bit of insight about that?
For sure. I think Landon has some of the best receivers around him as anyone in this state. If you look at Demetrius McCray, who's committed to Pitt, he's a very strong, explosive receiver. That he's one of those guys. He's a Debo. Sorry, you could put him in the backfield. Is it Samuels for the 49ers?
That's right.
He's a guy that he can make plays everywhere, and he'll run you over. He'll make a catch over you, and he's just extremely multiple. We got Brian Williams Jr., who's committed to Alabama, who's 6'4", 200 pounds, and runs really well. He can make that high ball catch, but he also is great in and out of his breaks. He's just an explosive player, ready to catch the football. One of Landon's childhood buddies is a part of our team, and Manny McKinney. He's a very Wes Welker type kid that he's in and out of breaks. He's creating separation, and he has remarkable hands. He's got a savviness about him, and Landon and Manny have great chemistry together. And then you got Brian Dillard, who he transferred to us from West Orange, and there may not be a more multiple offensive and defensive weapon in our area because he can do it all. He can play quarterback, running back, receiver, DB, kick returner. So Landon's got some weapons to throw to, and it'll be fun. It'll be challenging because when you've got those types of weapons, you got to keep them all happy. So Landon's going to have a tough job of distributing the football to those guys, but it should be a lot of fun.
And Larry, they also have 3 O-linemen, 2 4-stars and 1 3-star, in Chancellor Barkley, Reed Ramsier, and Sean Kentish. So
Landon's not going to want to leave.
We hope we can keep him in the pocket, and he doesn't want to leave the pocket. I had to get onto him today for leaving the pocket a little bit, but yeah, the guys up front, coached by Chad Mavetti. Chad Mavetti played at Florida State, and he does a remarkable job training our offensive linemen. And just like every other position that we have, our offensive coordinator, Stephen Moffitt, incredible job with our quarterbacks, and people want to play for him because he treats people the right way. He develops them, and he gives them a better future. Same thing with our coaches. And so I love watching our coaches. I love watching them develop our kids and getting the most out of them. But you named some really good linemen that these boys that you mentioned, all of them, they're not just good football players. They're fun to be around. And, man, they really are doing a great job of making football important at the First Academy, but also very respectful by the way that they act.
And, Coach, who's going to be your starting running back? That's when I'm looking at my roster here. I really don't have a person. I mentioned your O-lineman, your quarterback, your wide receivers. How you looking at RB?
Jalen Powell is our guy. And what I love about Jalen is, man, we're playing Edgewater last year. He was a sophomore, and we put him in. And I want to say the first carry, we run a pin and pull to the left, and he sticks his foot in the ground, and he bursts, and he goes and scores a touchdown. Last Saturday, we played a little live scrimmage, and he was just so difficult to tackle. And I really think no one knows who he is just yet, but after this season, everybody's going to know because he is extremely versatile as a running back. He can catch it, he can run it. It'll be a lot of fun to watch.
Is he like a water bug type, or is he a strong big kid?
He's very shifty. He can make people miss. He's probably not going to run over a whole lot of people, although he is strong, but he's very shifty.
Yep.
Coach, I've got to ask you about another quote that Sam Albuquerque writes about you and your defense. But just as a premise to that question that I'm about to ask you, I'm looking at this roster that Joe sent me, looking at just the metrics when it comes to these defensive players, right? And so I'm looking at their size and their weight, and now I'm going to ask you this question. So here's the quote. Sam says, for those who watched this Royals defense last season, given just how dominant and fun they were, you probably won't believe me when I tell you that this unit has taken a significant step in their physical development and play on the field. No need to take my word for it. Conaway will tell you himself. What's he talking about? It sounds like you had a heck of an off-season workout program.
Our strength coach is DeVario Montgomery, who played at Iowa State, and he does such a good job with our guys. We've had guys that have gained 50 pounds over a year. Not all of them need to do that, but some of them needed to do that. But everybody that needed to gain weight, gained weight. Everybody that needed to get bigger and faster and stronger definitely did that. And our off-season program, I told you guys we were an early morning football practice. Well, we also train early morning. And so there were weeks in phase 1 where we were lifting 4 and 5 times a week. Phase 2 of the off-season transitions a little bit where we implement some speed work, but they really bought in. We got booted last year and didn't get to go to the playoffs because of the sanctions. And instead of taking a week off or 2 weeks off or whatever, we went to the weight room. And it was remarkable the edge in which they trained with, knowing that there are other teams in the area were getting to play in the playoffs and they weren't. So I really think that jump started our offseason gains. I think we put on weight and mass and size so quickly because we were ticked off we weren't playing in the playoffs, but the guys didn't let it negatively affect them. They took that negative experience and turned it into a positive.
Hey, Coach, who's your biggest competitor in 1A? Are you in the same classes like Chaminade Madonna?
Yes.
Oh, man, so that would have been a great game last season. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. One day we'll get our opportunity.
Happen.
They're the champs, and we're chasing lions right now. We're not there yet, but we sure would love to get to play those guys. We respect what they do, and man, they're really, really good. We'd love to one day have an opportunity.
Coach, there's every coach has always got a pretty good feel about he walks into a situation, you see the players that you have a pretty good sense of where your program is headed. You've got a pretty good idea now, I suspect. Where do you think the program is in 5 years from now?
I think we're a top 5 team in the country year in and year out.
You heard it, Joe.
Yeah, and I'm going to get him the game so he can prove it on the field.
Yeah, we say that our preparation separates us, but our performance gives us those opportunities. And so we're going to have to win, of course, but I really do believe that we're preparing. And I really believe in our staff. I really believe in our administration. I really believe in our players. And I believe in Central Florida. There are a lot of football players here that want to be developed, that want that opportunity to play college football, but want to experience the high school platform that I think we're giving them. And so I think that's a great recipe. It's not a guarantee. Who knows? 5 years from now, we may still be trying to play Chaminade. But I really do believe in the foundation that we've built. And if we're playing Chaminade, we're pretty good. I always thought that if we can be a state championship team in Florida, you're going to be in the top 15, 20 most years. And, I think that has been true year in and year out.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, again, it's better to test yourselves and go 10-1 or 9-2 than going 11-0 against nobodies. That's how you get ranked. So you're ranked in at least all the national polls are out this week, all 9, and you're ranked number 20 in ours, and I know you're ranked near the top 25, top 30, and a couple of others. So you're going to get a chance to prove yourself really, really quickly. Again, IMG the game really it's just a kickoff classic, but after Milton and Phoenix City Central at home, we're going to know exactly where you stand.
Yeah,
and then you're going to have to go to Venice, which is probably one of the hardest places to play in America. And then, Gadsden, obviously there's some stuff going on there, but they're going to be a good program. And then I'll see you personally in Baltimore when you play at St. Francis. So, and then you finish up at Lakeland. So again, it's what you're doing is perfect to attract ballers. There's all you have to do is post your schedule and kids are going to say, oh my God, I want to play these teams, that's the formula for success. All these top teams in every poll, if you look at the top 10 of every poll, you're doing the same thing they were doing 5, 10, 15 years ago. So just stick with that formula and the best is yet to come.
Joe, I would love to see Coach Conaway and his team up here in South Georgia, whether it's against us or Thomas County Central. They're an up-and-coming national ranked team. Lee County has been there for quite a while. I'd love to see you guys coming to South Georgia.
Yeah, and Lee County's head coach. Hey, Jeff, Lee County's head coach, Dean Fabrizio, started his coaching career in Orlando.
Is that right?
Yeah. I forget the name of the team, but yeah, he started in Orlando.
Nice. Well, with Buford's new facility.
Oh, my gosh. You're not kidding.
Let's get up there and take a look at that.
Yeah, you're going to see it in a few weeks on ESPN.
$62 million worth.
Yep.
All right. So, Joe, what else you got for the coach?
No, that's it. I mean, we've gone over the schedule. We've gone over, his history. We talked about let's talk about some of the defensive players. We didn't mention any names. We mentioned Devin Jackson and Danny Odom. but you also have a bunch of 3-stars playing along the side of them. Alex Willis, David Coleman, Kingston Shaw, Sorlando Wiley, Blaze Jones. Anybody you want to highlight why we got you on?
Yeah, I'll highlight our defense coordinator first because
Mhm.
he is so good. He's one of the best in the country. He worked with me at Shiloh Christian. He was one of the biggest reasons we had such success at Shiloh. He's a college defensive coordinator coaching high school football. He uses a lot of the Nick Saban, Kirby Smart terminology, and he knows it backwards and forwards, and he does a fantastic job. But he has developed a lot of our players, giving them opportunities and exposures. And one of the most unique stories is Danny Odom's story. Danny Odom came to us from Pennsylvania, and his grandpa lives in Orlando and wanted him to be a part of our program because he saw what we were doing, because he officiated us my first year. He
Wow.
officiated us, and he noticed that something different was going on. Well, he talks his daughter, Danny's mom, into moving down here and bringing Danny to our school because what he saw on that Friday night game. When Danny came to us, he had 0 offers. Now Danny has 50 plus offers. The first one he
What
got.
a great story, Coach.
Yeah. Just an unbelievable. Like he was playing receiver mostly as a sophomore. He came to us. We put him at corner. Coach Gill, Coach Moffitt, or Coach Gill, Coach Mitchell, Coach Broomfield did a remarkable job of getting Danny ready to play corner, and he played lights out and committed to Nebraska, and just an incredible story. But there's so many other guys on that defense. I believe, Joe, if I'm correct, we're returning something like 10 starters. Not all of them started every game, but
Yeah.
you got 10 starters, and you added Kingston Shaw to that. Kingston Shaw might be the most underrated defensive end that I have ever seen. He is a bull, hard to block, great pass rusher, very physical. He's going to play for Brett Bielema up at Illinois. And so that defense is going to be a whole lot of – it's going to wreak a lot of havoc on a lot of offenses because of our scheme, but also because of the players that Coach Gill has on that side of the ball.
Hey, Coach, have the college coaches in the area, are they finally noticing what you're doing there the last 2 seasons? Are you getting visits on a weekly basis?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was – the last 2 off seasons have been incredible. I've basically taken Coach Bryant and Coach Broomfield, 2 of our college recruiting coordinators, and they have been pretty much full time during those few months where the college coaches were here, because we've had, I don't know, something like 80, 90 coaches on our campus during those months. And so it's been like Grand Central Station, because I think we do a great job of providing hospitality to those coaches, but we also give access to all of our players. We don't just pull out our seniors and our juniors. We want to show the sophomores and the 9th graders and the 8th graders, because we believe that giving them that exposure, giving them the opportunity to shake hands and look those coaches in the eyes and speak comfortably and confidently like we teach is a great start in their recruitment process.
Coach, this is the final question I have for you, and it's along the lines of NIL. You know, you and I kind of briefly talked about that in our pregame huddle. So, you know, in this world, it started at the college level. Now it's trickled down to the high school level. So let's say that you are a seasoned coach and you are hiring a brand new assistant coach to your staff named Jeff Conaway, and you're coaching up this new assistant coach. What would be your advice to the new Jeff Conaway to teach him how to coach these players that have the world as their oyster now? So, you know, you got a brand new coach that's probably got deer in the headlights. How do you teach that guy to coach up these superstar players?
Great question. I'll give you the clinic answer, and then I'll tell you what I really think. I think coaching really is all about 4 C's. We talk about Christ-likeness or character. If they know your character, they're going to listen to you. It doesn't matter if they're an NIL guy or if they're a JV guy. The way that our coaches show their character, the way that they are competent. You know, if you can get a Danny Odom from point A to point B, and he can get better at a few things, and he trusts the knowledge that you're giving him,
Yeah,
he's going to trust you. Your connection, I tell our guys all the time, you've got to get to their level, and you got to build a relationship, not just a coaching relationship. You got to go much deeper than that. And so that connection piece is huge. And then how you communicate. And if I can find a coach that has that Christ likeness, has that competency, has that connection ability, and can communicate consistently, that gives us the 5th C, which is the competitive advantage. And every player wants to play for that kind of guy. And we've got some really good ones on our staff. They do a great job with that. Like I said, it doesn't matter if it's the best player or the player that doesn't get any playing time. If you're that consistent with them, they will run through a brick wall for you, and their parents will be happy about the product that you've given to their sons. And so I believe that is clinic talk, but I really do believe that's so true.
That is awesome. Joe, listen, I'm going back and watching this whole interview because I've actually personally learned a lot from Coach Conaway tonight.
Yeah, same here. We all know why now the First Academy is a desirable destination for players and teams to come and play at. But he just described it in the last 45 minutes. So, Coach, you're going to have the opportunity all year long. Like I said, you're going to be on. You're going to have your 4 games nationally broadcast. So everyone's going to know you by the end of the season. You're going to be way more popular, and your exposure is going to be maximized like never before. As I said when I met you, I'm really enthusiastic and excited to be helping you along the way at the beginning. And I hope 5-10 years ago we can reminisce about these days. And and you're coming out in everybody's poll in the top 5 or top 10 every year, like what your goal is. So there's nothing in the way right now. Just keep doing what you're doing. You do know that when you shock the world like you have, you're going to have naysayers. It happens everywhere in every state when these schools come out of the woodwork and are starting to perform and beat teams, and it's unexpected. And just obviously you're going to stick together and you're going to drown out all that noise, and always remember that these people only come after the greats. They don't come after the average folk. They come after the greats. So keep doing what you're doing. We're excited to see you every week this season, and hopefully we'll have you back at the end of the season, and we'll review one of the best seasons in the history of TFA.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. Well, Joe, I appreciate you. Thanks for the partnership, and thanks for the way that you're helping us get those big games and the platform that you're giving us. And then Larry, man, I hope I get to come up to Georgia sometime and see you guys at Valdosta, and would love to play a high school football game up there. I still think Georgia and Texas, no one else does high school football quite like those two. Alabama's real close, and Florida's awesome. But man, it's just what an opportunity it would be to get to come up there and play some of those teams.
Now, Coach, since it's your first time on the show, I'm going to overlook your little indiscretion there and forgive what you just said. We are not Valdosta. We are Lowndes High.
Lowndes High, yes.
You got to remember that, Coach.
In Valdosta.
Joe, what are you doing bringing guests on talking about? No, I'm kidding. Guys, listen, if you have enjoyed this conversation with Coach Jeff Conaway tonight, and I thoroughly have, I think Joe has too, why don't you join us for a discussion about high school football year long? Visit our website at nationalhsfb.com, where we talk about national goings-ons with the high school football landscape year round. Listen, if you have not heard about this head coach and this name, Jeff Conaway, before tonight, I guarantee after the season you will. You're going to see this name a lot, and I'm predicting, Joe, in probably 5, 6, 7 years, he's going to be a major coach at the college level. That's just my personal prediction, and so we'll see how his career shapes out. Coach, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you, Larry. Same here.
Take care. We'll see you on Flow soon.
All right. Thank you, Joe.